Most people believe power belongs to the loudest person in the room, the one who speaks the most, the one who dominates every conversation, the one who constantly proves their presence. But human psychology tells a very different story. Sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one who barely speaks. They don't fight for attention. They don't compete for validation. Yet strangely, people begin to notice them. People become curious about them. People start wondering what they are thinking. Why? Because silence creates something. That noise destroys our mystery. The ancient philosopher Lao once wrote, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." At first, that sentence sounds confusing, but when you observe human behavior closely, you begin to understand something fascinating. The less someone reveals about themselves, the more your mind tries to figure them out. Your brain begins asking questions. Who are they? What are they thinking? Why are they so calm? And in that moment, something powerful happens. Without saying much at all, they capture your attention. Think about a situation you have experienced before. You are sitting in a group conversation, maybe with friends, at school, maybe at your work. There are always a few types of people in that room. There is the person who talks constantly, the entertainer who keeps making jokes, the person trying very hard to be interesting. But then, there is always one quiet person. They don't interrupt anyone. They don't try to dominate the discussion. They simply listen. They observe. They speak only occasionally, and strangely, people begin to notice them more. Someone eventually asks, "Why are you so quiet?" Another person tries to include them in the conversation. Someone else becomes curious. What is this person thinking? What kind of person are they? And slowly, without trying, the quiet person becomes the psychological center of the room. Not because they demanded attention, but because human curiosity hates empty spaces. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "We seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack." And silence creates exactly that. A lack of information. And when information is missing, the human mind begins to fill the gap, sometimes with curiosity, sometimes with imagination, sometimes even with admiration. But silence alone is not powerful. Many quiet people are ignored, many shy people disappear in the background so clearly. Being silent is not enough. The real difference is how silence is used, because silence can signal to very different things. It can signal insecurity, or it can signal control. Imagine to people who speak very little. The first person avoids eye contact. They look uncomfortable. Their silence feels anxious. Now imagine another quiet person. They remain calm. They observe the room. They maintain strong eye contact. They speak rarely, but when they do, everyone suddenly listens. Same silence, completely different energy. One silence feels weak, the other silence feels powerful. And people can sense the difference instantly, which raises a deeper question. Why does controlled silence feel so magnetic? Why do confident, quiet individuals often appear mysterious, attractive, even intimidating? To understand that, we need to explore how the human brain reacts to uncertainty. Human attention is drawn to three things: novelty, uncertainty, and incomplete information. Psychologists call this phenomenon the Zeigarnik effect, but our brains remember unfinished things better than finished ones, a story without an ending. a puzzle without a solution, a person we cannot fully understand. Silence creates exactly this condition. When someone talks constantly, your brain quickly understands them. The mystery disappears, the curiosity fades. But when someone speaks selectively, every word gains weight, every pause gains meaning. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "It is not the intensity of emotions, but their duration, that makes great individuals." In other words, power does not come from constant expression. Power comes from controlled expression. When someone speaks rarely, but intentionally, their words begin to feel more valuable. It follows the same rule as scarcity in economics. Anything that is abundant loses value. Anything that is rare becomes precious. Words follow the same rule. When words become scarce, they become powerful. Now, here is the uncomfortable truth. Talking too much often signals something deeper. It signals the need for validation. We speak excessively when we want to prove something. Prove intelligence, prove confidence, prove importance. But true confidence rarely needs constant proof. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Most people fear silence. Silence feels awkward. Silence feels uncomfortable, so they rush to fill it with words. But the person who is comfortable with silence sends a completely different signal. They signal inner stability. And humans instinctively interpret stability as strength. Which is why calm and quiet individuals often appear more confident than the loudest person in the room. Not because they are trying to impress anyone, but because they don't seem to need to. Silence becomes powerful when it is combined with certain behaviors. Let's call this the silent influence framework. 5 principles that transform silence into psychological power. First, controlled speaking. Quiet people do not speak less randomly. They speak less intentionally. They listen first. They observe. Then when they finally speak, their words feel deliberate. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not right, not do it." Selective speech creates respect. Second, observational intelligence. While others are busy talking, quiet individuals are collecting information. They notice tone of voice, facial expressions, hidden tensions, subtle emotional shifts. Observation creates advantage. As Sun Tzu wrote, "Know your enemy and know yourself, and you will never be defeated." Third, emotional control. Quiet individuals often react more slowly. They think before responding. This creates psychological stability, and stability naturally attracts trust. In most groups, the calmest person often becomes the most influential one. Fourth, strategic mystery. Human attraction thrives on curiosity. When someone reveals everything immediately, interest fades quickly. But when someone reveals themselves gradually, curiosity continues growing. Mystery keeps attention alive. Fifth, precision of impact. When quiet people finally speak, people listen more carefully because their words feel rare, and rarity creates value. Consider one of the most famous innovators in modern history, Steve Jobs. People who worked with him described something interesting. During meetings, Jobs sometimes remained silent for long periods. He would listen to observe everyone speaking, watch the discussion unfold, and then suddenly, he would say one sentence. One sentence that completely shifted the direction of the conversation. That moment felt powerful. Not because the sentence was loud, but because of the silence before it. Another example is Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was known for listening far more than speaking. He allowed people to reveal their arguments fully by the time he responded. He already understood the weakness in every position. Silence had given him an advantage. The advantage of information, even in everyday social situations. You can observe this pattern. The quiet person in the room is often the one people remember most, not because they demanded attention, but because they did not chase it. And strangely, attention tends to chase those who do not chase it. In today's world, everyone is trying to speak. Everyone is trying to be heard. Everyone is trying to prove something. And because of that, silence has become rare. And rarity always creates value. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are." Many people talk endlessly because they fear being invisible. They fear being misunderstood. They fear being insignificant. But the quiet individual understands something deeper. Presence does not come from noise. Presence comes from self-possession. When someone is comfortable in silence, they reveal a powerful truth. They are not trying to control how others see them. They are simply grounded in themselves. And that quiet confidence becomes magnetic, because people are drawn to those who seem secure within themselves. So perhaps the real power of quiet people is not that they speak less. The real power is this: they are not desperate to be heard. And in a noisy world, where everyone is fighting for attention, the person who truly listens becomes the rarest presence in the room, and sometimes the rarest presence becomes the most powerful one, as Lao Tzu once said. Silence is a source of great strength, and maybe the most dangerous person in the room is not the one speaking loudly, but the one sitting quietly, watching, listening, and understanding everything. If this video made you see silence differently, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever noticed someone quiet who seemed more powerful than everyone else? Or maybe you are that quiet person. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy deep psychology videos like this, subscribe to the channel, because every week we explore the hidden forces that shape human behavior. The things people rarely talk about, but secretly feel. Until the next video. Remember this: sometimes the strongest voice in the room is silence.